Simon's childhood sweetheart once again took the passenger seat beside him. I didn't make a scene or raise my voice. I quietly went to the back seat and sat next to his close friend, Zack Chan. When the car jolted, my knee brushed against the man's firm, tense thigh. I deliberately didn't move away. And he didn't either. Halfway there, we stopped at a service station. The childhood sweetheart clung to Simon and asked him to go to the restroom with her. The moment the car door shut, Zack grabbed the back of my neck and kissed me. As the kiss made me dizzy with desire, I couldn't help but think, to question men, to understand men, to become men. No wonder it's the ultimate truth. Chapter 01. After Simon's childhood sweetheart, Freya, once again sat in his passenger seat. I didn't make a scene or fuss. I simply turned around and opened the back door, but I was momentarily stunned. I hadn't expected that even someone as busy as Zack would join this short road trip. I quickly composed myself and nodded politely at him. Zack, wearing glasses, had a faint trace of weariness on his face. He lifted his eyelids, glanced at me, nodded in return, and closed his eyes again. Freya, while fastening her seatbelt, turned back with a smug look and raised her brows at me. Selena sister, I get carsick, so I'm sitting in the front, okay? Simon turned and looked at me too. Freya gets carsick. Don't be petty over this kind of small thing all the time. I let out a light chuckle. Sure. Simon seemed a little surprised but didn't say more, because Freya had already stuffed a half-eaten piece of bread into his mouth. This tastes bad. You eat the rest for me, okay? Simon didn't even frown. He naturally ate the remaining half. Freya glanced at me through the rearview mirror and stuck out her tongue with a playful grin. I ignored her and reached for a bottle of soda water, getting ready to open it. The cap was hard to twist. I tried twice but couldn't get it off. Meanwhile, up front, Freya was coyly handing her bottle to Simon. Brother, I really can't open it. You've known since we were kids, my hands are the weakest. Simon looked completely pleased with himself and easily opened the bottle for her. The two of them took turns sipping from it without the slightest hint of restraint. I felt a bit nauseated. Just as I was about to set my bottle down, a man's hand suddenly reached over and took it from me. Beneath the black casual suit sleeve was a hint of silver-gray shirt. It fit perfectly around the man's slender wrist. His hand was beautiful, long fingers, well-shaped knuckles, and neatly trimmed, clean nails. In the dappled light filtering through the window, each finger looked like a piece of polished jade. Chapter 02. While I was still in a daze, Zack had already twisted open the bottle and handed it back to me. The car's music started playing at just the right time. I quickly took it and thanked him softly. Zack Chan gave a slight nod and closed his eyes again. He was probably just off a night shift in surgery. There were faint red streaks in his eyes. I took small sips of water. The car had smoothly merged onto the main road. Freya's birthday was coming up. Simon had specially arranged this short road trip to celebrate it properly. There were about 7 or 8 of us. 3 cars in total, heading to a hot spring resort 100 kilometers away. Not long after we set off, Freya was already practically glued to Simon. The music was loud, I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it was clear they were having a great time chatting. Lately, because of Simon's boundary-crossing behavior with Freya, we had already had several unpleasant fights. Simon had promised to be more mindful next time, but the moment he saw Freya again, that promise vanished into thin air. Suddenly, it all felt meaningless. I let out a self-deprecating laugh, turned to look out the window. The mountain road curved and twisted, with occasional rocks fallen along the way. When the car bumped, my body tilted slightly. My bare knee, under my dress, brushed against Zack's thigh, firmly pressed against it. I instinctively moved to pull away, but then I suddenly saw a faint reddish mark on Freya's neck. Even a fool could tell it was a hickey. Who left it? No need to ask. In that instant, I made up my mind and stopped moving. Chapter 03. Zack opened his eyes. He looked at me. I kept my face calm, staring straight ahead, avoiding his gaze. But my knee, pressed against the outer side of his thigh, subtly leaned in closer. Only a thin layer of suit fabric separated us. I could clearly feel the heat and strength of his muscles. Waves of warmth surged through, flooding my nerves like electricity. My mouth felt dry, and I swallowed unconsciously. Reaching again for the bottle, The cold water ran down my throat, quelling some of the restlessness and panic. It also jolted me into sudden clarity. Zack still hadn't moved his leg, just letting me stay pressed against him like that. In that moment, it felt like my heart skipped a few beats, then started pounding faster and faster, almost out of control. But just then, the car suddenly swerved. Freya let out a startled cry from the front. "You scared me to death, brother." She clutched her chest dramatically, then softened her voice and praised him. "But, brother, your reflexes were amazing just now. If you hadn't swerved in time, that rock would have hit our car." Simon laughed immediately. "What did I tell you? Your brother's driving is top-notch." Freya leaned over and gave him a kiss. "Brother is the best." Mwah. "Cut it out, Simon." At least, hadn't forgotten I was in the back seat. He feigned annoyance and glared at Freya. "You're an adult now. Stop being so silly. Selena sis is right there." Freya widened her eyes and put on an innocent face. "Selena sis. I grew up with brother. I've always seen him like a real brother." "You don't mind, do you?" I pulled a blanket over myself, looked up and gave a cool smile. "Do you act like this with your actual brother at home too?" Freya instantly looked aggrieved. "Brother. See? I told you Selena sis doesn't like me. Maybe I shouldn't have come after all. Don't want to make sister unhappy." Simon frowned immediately. "All right, Selena, you're 2 years older than Freya. Can't you be a little more mature? She's just childish, doesn't know better. No need to say such harsh things." In that moment, I didn't even have the strength left to argue. "You want me to be more mature? Of course I can be, but in the future, I hope you can be just as mature too." Chapter 04. Under the cover of the blanket. My leg pressed tighter and tighter against Zack's, when a small bump in the road caused my knee and calf to brush against him once more. Zack's long, warm hand suddenly landed on my thigh, his palm pressed against my slightly cool skin. Heat flooded in, wave after wave. My senses in that instant felt magnified 1,000-fold. I could even feel the faint calluses on his fingers, those fingers so used to holding surgical scalpels. I could feel the subtle friction of his fingertips sliding over my skin. I couldn't help but glance back at him. Just a quick glance, but I caught sight of him sitting upright, collar buttoned neatly. And yet his sexy Adam's apple rolled hard in his throat. That side profile, so sharply defined it could cut. It made my heart skip, uncontrollably. Chapter 05. Zack was something of an outlier in Simon's circle, if not for a somewhat convoluted family tie between them. A man like him, so cold-natured and obsessively clean, would never have lingered in a crowd like this. After I got with Simon, I naturally came to know Zack, but every time we met, it was nothing more than a nod and polite greeting. He liked quiet, spoke little. His private life was as spotless as a blank page. After dinners or parties, when others were drinking, playing cards, or goofing around, Zack usually left early. If he ever stayed, he'd sit alone on a couch in the corner, eyes closed, resting, never part of the revelry. Simon had joked more than once. "My cousin's a saint, pure and untouched. Don't be fooled by the fact he's 27. He's probably never even touched a woman, but he's been better this past year. Call him out 10 times. He might show up 3 or 4. A few years ago, you wouldn't see the man's face even once." Actually, I'd heard of Zack back in college and even spotted him from afar a few times. But in my eyes, Zack was like that dream all young girls have when love first blooms. A moon hanging high and untouchable. I'd barely interacted with Zack before, except for 2 occasions when I had breast discomfort and went to the hospital, and just happened to get an appointment with him. I'd felt terribly awkward at the time, but Zack was entirely professional. That alone quickly calmed me down. I even silently scolded myself afterward. He's a surgeon, what hasn't he seen? No matter how young, how pretty, how good my figure, in his eyes, I was just another patient, just a lump of flesh. And yet, even knowing that, when he began the examination, I still clenched my eyes shut, my face burning red. Later, as I left, I wasn't sure if I imagined it, or if the heating in the room had been turned too high, but Zack's ears had looked a bit flushed too. Chapter 06. Brother, can we stop at the next rest area? I want to use the restroom. Freya's voice pulled me back from my thoughts. I bit my lip lightly, trying to shift my leg away, but Zack's fingers only gripped tighter. I lowered my long lashes and dared not move again. The car stopped, and Freya immediately began whining for Simon to accompany her. Simon looked back at me, clearly a bit hesitant, but Zack suddenly spoke. His voice calm and deep. She's asleep. Simon Chan visibly relaxed. Bro, I'll take Freya to the restroom. We'll be right back. Zack gave a low ahem. The car door opened, then closed again. Their chatter faded, and the car grew quiet. Selena. Zack suddenly pulled the blanket off my legs. You're sweating, aren't you hot? I lowered my head further, not daring to look at him. I grabbed my water bottle, trying to hide my awkwardness by drinking, but Zack took the bottle from my hand. Don't drink so much cold water. Did you forget my medical advice? I don't know where the courage came from, but I suddenly looked up at him. Dr. Chan, your treatment doesn't seem all that impressive. How so? Zack frowned slightly. I followed your advice. Took the meds. Avoided cold food, but it still hurts. His brow furrowed more deeply. Still hurts? It's a bit painful even now. I pressed my lips together, lifting my chin slightly. Should I go in for another checkup? Dr. Chan? Just outside the car window. Freya was clinging to Simon's arm. Their bodies practically fused together. Simon was occasionally pinching her cheek, ruffling her hair, looking for all the world like an intimate couple. The anger and frustration that had been bottled in my chest surged wildly, looking for an outlet. I don't even know what I was thinking when I suddenly grabbed Zack's hand. Or maybe Dr. Chan could just do his duty now and examine me right here? Chapter 07. Just as Zack's hand was about to reach my chest, he moved even faster than I did. His long, strong fingers gripped the back of my neck, and with just a little force, he pulled me right to him. Selena. He looked down at me. I had to tilt my face upward just to meet his gaze. Don't seduce me here. Seduce you? I stared him down, bold and unflinching. Dr. Chan, do you really have so little professional ethics? Watching your patient in pain, and doing nothing. Before I could even finish, Zack suddenly took off his glasses, lowered his head, and kissed me. That faint, clean scent that was so uniquely his, slightly bitter, like it had seeped into every inch of his skin from years of disinfectants, enveloped me entirely. My eyes flew wide open. Instinctively, I tried to push him away, but his hand only pressed harder. I let out a low gasp, but as I opened my mouth, he seized the moment, kissing me even deeper. He stole all the oxygen from my lungs. I felt dizzy and faint. My legs gave out first, then my whole body went soft, as if my bones had melted. Zack cupped my jaw, his kiss growing more intense. Even the base of my tongue tingled. Somehow, my hands had gripped his shirt, bunching it up in wrinkled handfuls. Our breath tangled in chaotic waves. My eyes watered from the sheer intensity. Then, Zack suddenly stopped. I looked up at him, my gaze still dazed and heavy, like I was asking for more. Another kiss. More of him. Zack gave a slow, wicked smile and wiped the dampness from the corner of my mouth with his fingers. Don't be so impatient, Selena. Huh? I stared at him, dazed, still drifting somewhere between reality and a dream. He bent down again and gave my swollen lips a gentle, teasing kiss. His forehead leaned against mine, and in my ear, his voice was low, husky, and sexy as sin. 30 more kilometers. I'll give you what you want when we get there. Chapter 08. A sudden buzz rang in my ears. My body, already softened from the kiss, now burned uncontrollably. I could hardly believe what I just heard from Zack of all people. My ears must have been burning bright red, my nape boiling with heat. I reached up to push him away, but Zack just tilted his head and left a feather-light kiss on my earlobe. They're back. I froze, glancing out the car window. Simon and Freya were walking toward us, laughing and chatting. I quickly shoved Zack away and returned to my seat, pulled the blanket back over myself and pretended to still be asleep. But the moment I closed my eyes, the strange sensation on my lips reminded me. I pulled out my compact mirror to check. My lips were kissed red and swollen, my lipstick smudged into a glossy mess. No matter how you looked at it, it screamed something happened. I glared at Zack. This is your fault. My lips are all swollen now. He leaned lazily back in the seat, slowly polishing his glasses. Then he looked at me and pointed somewhere. Then what about this? Who do I blame for that? I followed his finger instinctively, then my eyes flew wide open. You, how can you? How could he have such an obvious reaction? Didn't Simon always say he was pure and disinterested, untouched by women? Selena, Zack said, slipping his glasses back on and gently pushing them up the bridge of his nose. I'm still a man, and just like that, in a blink, the raw intensity from earlier, the hunger in that kiss, the wildness, was sealed away. He was back to being that cold, aloof Dr. Chan again, but that stark contrast only thrilled me more. After all, who doesn't want to bring the untouchable down to earth? Who doesn't want to watch a man, so clean and restrained on the outside, lose control, burn with desire, and fall, just for you? To doubt men, to understand men, to become men, truly, the ultimate truth. Just as Simon and Freya reached the car, Zack pulled out a small pack of kiss-burn snacks from who knows where and handed it to me. Open it. Don't eat. Just for show. Why can't I eat it? It's my favorite. Junk food. No nutritional value. Ugh. Typical doctor thing. I grumbled, not buying it, and tore open the package. But Zack snatched it away and tossed it straight into the car's trash pouch. The door opened. Freya got in and immediately looked toward the back. Selena's sister. What happened to your lips? Without changing expression, I pointed to the trash. Had a few kiss burns. Got a little too spicy. Freya covered her mouth and laughed at Simon. Brother, if we didn't know better, we'd think Selena's sister got those lips swollen from making out with someone. Chapter 09. Simon looked over at me, brows faintly furrowed, suspicion slowly surfacing in his eyes. But when his gaze landed on Zack, who sat there expressionless and cold, his tone softened at once. What nonsense are you spouting? Selena has been in the car the whole time. Who would she even be kissing? That's not necessarily true. Who knows what Selena's sister did after we left? Freya chimed in with a smirk. Before she could finish, Zack Chan looked up, his voice cold and sharp. She was asleep the entire time. She only just woke up 5 minutes ago. I can vouch for that. Freya froze. Zack GE. But Zack cut her off directly. The Chan family and the Freya family aren't close. I'm not familiar with Miss Freya either. Freya's face turned bright red. She looked like she was about to cry as she glanced at Simon. Simon caught a glimpse of Zack's stormy expression and ultimately didn't dare speak up. Freya was thoroughly humiliated but had no choice. Her family still needed to cozy up to the Song family. And the Song family, in front of the Chans, always bowed and scraped. She had to swallow her pride. Still, she couldn't help but glare at me fiercely through the rearview mirror. I knew exactly what that look meant. Great. She's adding this to the list. For the next 30 kilometers, Freya stayed quiet, until we arrived at the hot spring resort. Freya immediately clung to Simon, begging to share a suite with him. Brother, I've never slept alone before. I'm really scared. It's a suite anyway. 2 bedrooms. Selena's sister won't mind, right? She swayed his arm like a child. Simon looked at me helplessly. I just gave a cool smile. Then let me switch rooms with her. I prefer the garden view. Simon looked slightly guilty and lowered his voice to soothe me. Selena, it's Freya's birthday. Let's give her this one, okay? I'll take you on a vacation by ourselves next time to make it up to you. All right? I nodded generously. Sure, I'll take your luggage to your room. Before I could even respond, Simon had already grabbed my luggage and headed off. By the time he returned, his face looked much more at ease. That night, there was a party. I returned to my room, took a shower, and changed into a new dress, then slowly gave myself a perfectly pure and tempting makeup look. I arrived a little late. Everyone was already there. The room was bustling, but I immediately spotted Zack sitting alone by the window. He changed into a white shirt and still wore his glasses, looking even more restrained and distant. When I entered, he only gave me a mild glance, but just as I shifted my eyes away, I caught sight of him lifting a hand to undo the top button of his shirt. Casually, his long fingers grazed his Adam's apple. I lowered my gaze and bit my lip slightly. In my messy thoughts, I couldn't help wondering, if I bit that Adam's apple, what would it take to make him lose control? Chapter 10. Wow, Selena's sister. Why are you dressed so pretty tonight? Freya ran over, clinging to my arm, then pouted unhappily. But, who dresses like that at someone else's birthday? You're totally stealing my thunder, brother. Come judge, Selena's sister is bullying me again. I looked at Freya. Of course. She'd put in effort tonight too. And to be fair, she really did look like a little princess. But there's a saying, sometimes, cuteness doesn't stand a chance against allure. I usually went for a more casual, minimalist style. Tonight was a rare mood swing, going full pure temptation with the look. A wine red slip dress, with strappy heels in the same tone. The color complemented my skin perfectly, and the straps winding around my calves only made my legs look longer, slimmer. When Simon saw me, his gaze clearly flashed with surprise and admiration. The others also started teasing. Damn, Selena's sister doesn't dress up often, but when she does, wow, Simon, you lucky dog. Look at him, his eyes are practically glued to her. Simon looked slightly smug. He came over to me but cleared his throat and tried to act serious. Selena, it's Freya's birthday today. If you want to dress up like this, save it for when we go on dates. You're just making Freya feel bad. Chapter 11. I looked at Simon standing in front of me, and I could feel it, clearly. Whatever lingering affection or attachment I had for him was rapidly vanishing. But strangely, it didn't hurt. I didn't even feel a hint of reluctance. Selena, did you hear what I said? Simon frowned, his gaze never once leaving me. So what do you want to do? Go change into something else. He gently grabbed my arm and pulled me aside, lowering his voice. Selena, you're 2 years older than Freya. Just let her have this one. I brushed his hand off and smiled. What if I don't want to? Simon was stunned for a second, then chuckled coldly. And who do you think you are to say no to me? I just don't want to. Then we're done. Simon's handsome face darkened with anger and disdain, like he was sure I'd be too scared to walk away, too scared to break up. Fine, then we're done. I shoved his hand away. Just as you wish. Simon suddenly sneered. His smile was cold and mocking. Well, aren't you full of yourself? Get lost then. I didn't say a word, just turned around, yanked open the door, and strode out. Chapter 12. I didn't go back to my room. Instead, I took a bottle of red wine and wandered into the small garden. The night breeze was cool and soothing. By the time I poured my second glass, I sent Zack a message on Instagram. Dr. Chan. He replied almost instantly, as if he'd been waiting for my text all along. What is it? My breast still hurts. Zack didn't respond immediately, but a few minutes later, he called, leaning back in the chair. I felt the mountain breeze brushing against me. And nearby, the crabapple flowers still lingered in the night. Wide awake, I realized I was a bit tipsy, my vision blurred. My senses dulled, but Zack's voice in my ear was clear as crystal. Selena, where are you? When you're kissing someone, you call her Selena. But after the kiss, it's just Selena. Dr. Chan, aren't you just heartless? There was a pause on the other end. Then I thought I heard a low chuckle. The next time he said my name, his voice was soft, lingering. Selena, where are you? In the garden. So, Dr. Chan, are you coming over? Chapter 13. Zack brought me to his room. He wasn't staying in the same building as the rest of us. His was a secluded villa nestled deep within a bamboo grove. On the way there, I asked curiously, aren't you afraid someone will see us? Zack held my hand, gesturing for me to watch my step on the stone path. When I looked down, I saw our overlapping shadows, stretched long and slender beneath the moonlight. This resort is owned by the Chan family. You don't need to be afraid or worried. Who said I was afraid or worried? Zack turned his head slightly to look at me. I stopped walking and met his eyes directly. I already broke up with Simon, so what do I have to be afraid of? When did you break up? Half an hour ago. You were there. Zack didn't respond. The moon was bright, the stars sparse. Shadows danced among the bamboo leaves. Flecks of silver light flickered across his handsome face. Standing in the moonlight, He looked like a solitary stalk of bamboo, tall, slender, and still. Selena. He tightened his grip on my hand and pulled me into his arms. You'd better mean it. Don't come crawling back to him. Zack's villa had a large private courtyard, and the moment we stepped through the gate, he pinned me against the door. He cupped my face, kissing me deeply, heavily, desperately, between breaths. His face pressed against the side of my neck, his breath scorching, my arms wrapped around his neck, fingers threading through his thick hair. Dr. Chan, have you ever kissed anyone else before? He turned and kissed my lips again. His breath was ragged, voice low. No. Then, you've never slept with anyone either? Zack cupped my face again, his thumb brushing the moisture from my lips. Correct. He was tall, even with heels. I barely reached his chin. My hand slid from his hair down the back of his neck to the open collar of his shirt. When my soft fingers grazed his Adam's apple, his reaction was immediate and intense. It bobbed sharply under my touch, and the palms cradling my face burned with heat. A storm of tangled emotions swirled inside me, aching for release, a wild craving for reckless abandon. I closed my eyes and placed a soft kiss on that sexy Adam's apple. Zack's fingers plunged into my hair, holding me tighter, lips pressed to mine again. His breath was completely off rhythm, yet he held back, not even letting a moan slip. Dr. Chan, aren't you forgetting something? His slender fingers traced my cheek. He bent down and kissed the corner of my eye. What is it I'm forgetting? I'm in pain. Aren't you going to examine me? I took his left hand, guiding it downward. His fingers landed over my chest, under the silver moonlight. My bare skin looked pale, like frost. I tilted my head up and clearly saw the thick desire darken his eyes. Then, with growing pressure, I pressed his hand in place. Dr. Chan, can we begin now? Chapter 14. Zack Chan's palm was scalding. The skin beneath my chest burned as if seared by his touch. His Adam's apple moved with intensity, and the eyes he used to look at me, dark with surging desire, were filled with such raw possessiveness. It felt like he might consume me whole. We were too close. I could feel every alarming shift in his body, every reaction. He was like a volcano, and I was being scorched, dizzy, breathless, stripped of reason. But I had underestimated Zack's self-control. Even in this moment, he could still force himself to pull his hand away from me. I stared at him, dazed and slightly hurt, a pang of disappointment rising. Not here, he said. Then he wrapped his arm around me and leaned down, brushing a kiss against my lips. We'll shower first, otherwise it's not clean. It wouldn't be good for you. My heart fluttered, so lightly it trembled. Even the cool mountain breeze seemed to soften. In that moment, no one could resist this man. When we entered, I bent down to remove my shoes. But before I could, Zack had already crouched down with a new pair of slippers in his hand. He was a surgeon. His hands were known for their dexterity. The intricate ribbons crisscrossing my calves only needed a light tug to undo. But he fumbled clumsily, tugging twice before managing. He carefully held my ankle, slipping it into the soft slipper. Looking down, I saw the crisp white shirt stretching over his broad shoulders, the hem of his shirt tucked neatly into his slacks, his waist slim, firm. Maybe it was the wine, but I felt hot, parched. When he stood up, I suddenly rose on tiptoe, hooked my arms around his neck, and kissed him. From the doorway to the bathroom, we kissed without pause. By the time the shower water started to fall, his shirt hem was rumpled from my hands, my dress strap already slipping off my shoulder. Zack pressed me against the wall, kissing fiercely, hungrily. Steam clouded the room, swallowing everything whole, and it felt like he wanted to swallow me too. Selena. But at the final moment, Zack grabbed my wrists and pulled me away, firmly, but gently. He brushed back the wet hair clinging to my cheeks, fingers laced with mine. His breath hot and ragged, his voice hoarse and rough. Let's go to the bedroom. It'll be uncomfortable here, for you. Chapter 15. Dr. Chan looked lean and delicate with his clothes on. Who would have guessed? Once undressed, his physique would be this good? He even had an 8-pack. I couldn't imagine how, after such a demanding job, he still found time to train. But either way, it was all mine now. I couldn't stop touching, couldn't get enough. Do you like it? Even as we tangled in the sheets, Zack still asked. What a silly question. Who wouldn't like a man with abs? Of course I do. I pressed my hand against them again. Then it's all yours, from now on. I didn't answer. My mind floated, like his, somewhere between lucidity and pleasure. Back in school, Zack was the unattainable senior every girl adored. Someone like me never dared imagine anything real with him. The crush I harbored back then had been quiet, buried deep. But now, that distant moon rested in the palm of my hand, and still, I couldn't quite believe I had the luck to call him mine. Just like that song lyric says, who can claim Mount Fuji? Just through love? And there was still Simon. The tangled mess between us wasn't easily erased. Not to mention, Simon had to call Zack cousin. But those thoughts quickly vanished, because Zack kissed me again, firm, demanding, fingers intertwined with mine, pressing me into the mattress. I didn't dare imagine what my face looked like in that moment. It must have been entirely written with surrender and desire. Chapter 16. In the spacious master bedroom, only a floor lamp glowed softly in the corner. The curtains were half drawn, moonlight spilling through in slanted silver ribbons. I lay there, bathed in moonlight, almost indistinguishable from it. Outside the window, flower buds curled shut in the night breeze, crimson specks against a canvas of black and white. Inside, the scene was no less vivid. Faint bruises lined the curve of my waist, fingerprints, chaotic and real. So much for the pure and untouchable Dr. Chan. I recalled how Zack had gripped my waist with both hands. The thought alone sent another wave of heat rushing to my cheeks. This had been our first time, and honestly, it ended a bit abruptly. Zack leaned over and kissed the damp strands of hair clinging to my temple. Want some water? I gave a soft mem, too weak to lift my head. Zack brought me a glass, and I, still too lazy to move, let him feed it to me. He held me in his arms as I drank every last drop. More. Zack chuckled lowly as he set the glass down. Okay. Everything you want. Then he climbed over me again, and that's when I realized. There wasn't a trace left of that clean, proper, detached doctor. The second time lasted longer, much longer, and I could feel it. Zack was a fast learner. Brilliant. Precise. He quickly mastered the rhythm. Memorized every one of my weak spots. Every sensitive place. Soon, I was utterly undone. Tears welled in the corners of my eyes, soaking into my hair. He coaxed me, teased me, until I couldn't help but cry out, calling him brother over and over again. Chapter 17. When I woke up the next day, daylight had already flooded the room. Zack was gone. I felt parched and exhausted, and as I tried to sit up for water, I was immediately hit by the soreness. My body ached like it had been run over, heavy, bruised, raw. It took a while before I could get up. There was a note pinned under the glass by the bed. Zack's handwriting, neat and calm. Sorry, Selena. There was a serious accident. The hospital is critically short on staff. I had to go back early. I'll contact you once things settle. Be good. I stared at that slip of paper, stunned for a long moment, and the first thought that popped into my head. Maybe this is just what men say. Maybe Zack had already filed last night under casual fun. But still, I opened my phone and checked the news. Top headline, a multi-vehicle pileup. All victims had been sent to the hospital closest, Zack's hospital. He hadn't lied. He really had to leave. Still, he said he'd contact me. But what was he going to say? And what would I even say in return? My head was a complete mess. I didn't even know what I wanted next. But I knew one thing, I didn't want to stay here. So I got up, freshened up briefly, and headed back to my room to pack. Just as I stepped out of the villa and walked toward the lake, I ran right into Simon and Freya's group. I turned immediately, intending to take a different path. But Freya called out in her saccharine voice, Selena's sister, why are you wearing a man's shirt? Before leaving, I'd grabbed one of Zack's shirts from the closet. The kiss marks trailing down my neck and chest had to be covered. It was likely a spare shirt, kept for him during his occasional stays. As soon as Freya spoke, I instinctively clutched the collar tighter. Simon's face darkened. Selena, whose shirt is that? I forced myself to stay calm. The first thing that came to mind. I seduced Zack, willingly. He shouldn't get dragged into this. I was cold. Borrowed one from a staff guy. Simon stepped forward. Now only inches away. You're still in last night's dress. Selena, did you not come back at all? He reached out as if to pull the shirt open. Chapter 18. I slapped his hand away and took a step back. If I'm not mistaken, we broke up last night, so whatever I do is none of your business anymore. Freya gasped dramatically. Selena's sister. You broke up with brother? I stared at her, expressionless. Yes, you should be thrilled. Miss Freya, what's that supposed to mean? Freya immediately got defensive. Why would I be happy? You make it sound like I'm the villain here. Brother, are you just gonna let her say that? What if she spreads rumors later, calling me a homewrecker? Simon patted her hand, pulling her behind him protectively, then turned to me, his eyes full of resentment. All this over some stupid drama? How many times do I have to tell you, Freya and I are like brother and sister? Nothing's ever happened. Freya added with a mocking tone. Selena's sister. Not everything between men and women is dirty. Some friendships really are just pure. You keep this up, Selena, and you're going to lose more than you think. I'm not throwing a tantrum, I said, my voice flat. I just don't want to be in this relationship anymore, and I made that clear last night. We're done. I had no energy to argue with Simon. My body still ached everywhere. Zack, that bastard, at least had the decency not to drag me into a round 3. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be able to stand right now. Fine. Then tell me, where were you last night? I smiled, raising a brow. Ran into a friend. We had some drinks and talked. What? Is that a crime? Just drinks and talking? Does it matter to you? I flicked my hair casually. Simon's pupils suddenly contracted. He pointed at my neck, voice raised, sharp. Then what the hell is that on your neck? I met his gaze and raised a hand to touch the spot. Must have been a mosquito. Selena, who the F** do you think you're lying to? What else do you think it is? I smiled, eyes glinting. And even if it is what you think, so what? Men and women can have pure friendships, right? Even if we kissed. Maybe we're just really good friends. Then I looked straight at Freya. Don't you agree? Freya's face turned beet red, but she had nothing to say. She clutched Simon's arm, looking on the verge of tears. Simon ignored her completely. His eyes were fixed on my neck, fury radiating. Selena, who the hell were you drinking with last night? You'd better tell me. Why don't you go find out yourself? I shot him a half smile. Now can you move? I want to go rest. Maybe it was my unnervingly calm tone, but something in Simon cracked. His face twisted with rage, pitch black with indignation. Selena, don't you *ing regret this. And don't let me find out who you were messing around with. I lifted a hand lazily. Whoever regrets it is a damn coward. Chapter 19. After showering and changing into something loose and comfortable, I packed my things and left the hot spring resort without looking back. On the way home, my dad called me several times. I didn't pick up. Soon after, my brother messaged me. Did you and Simon have a fight? Go apologize. Stop being dramatic. I'm negotiating a deal with the Song family right now. Don't mess this up for me. All I felt was a suffocating weight crushing my chest. I was just dating him, not sold to him. We've broken up, and there's no going back. His reply came instantly, full of arrogance. Selena, getting bold now. Huh? Let me tell you, if you can't lock down a guy like that, I'll have mom and dad kick you out of the Zhao family. Believe it? I'd been financially independent since graduating. My parents had already made it clear, nothing in the Zhao family belonged to me. It was all for my brothers. The family had so many properties, but all I got was a 60 square meter apartment. Everything else was under my brothers and their wives' names. So really, Zhao family's business. Zhao family's legacy. What did that have to do with me? I laughed and typed back, gladly. When I got home, I locked myself in for 3 days. No one really walks away from a family like mine without carrying something heavy. No matter how numb you try to be, it still stings. At night, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts were tangled, my head pounding like it was about to burst. I got up and poured myself a drink. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was the emotional mess. But the pain in my chest returned. The area where the fibrocystic lump had always throbbed began to ache. I took my meds. No relief. The pain only intensified. So I forced myself up and headed to the hospital. I purposely booked with a different specialist, hoping to avoid Zack. After all, my life was in shambles. I didn't even know how to look him in the eye. While I was waiting in the hallway, a nurse came over and called my name. I followed her, only to realize she'd brought me to Zack's office. I instinctively turned to leave. But, Selena, Zack's voice stopped me. He looked exhausted, bloodshot eyes. Visible fatigue etched across his face. Sit down, I'll wash my hands. He removed his white coat and headed to the sink. The sound of running water filled the room as I watched his long, steady hands. And then my mind wandered again. Those hands. How they had wandered across me that night. How they had trespassed every corner of my body I had never let anyone near. How they had made me forget the world, forget myself. God, I was hopeless. My whole head was nothing but filth when it came to him. Chapter 20. Is it the same spot hurting again? Zack turned off the tap, disinfected, dried his hands, then approached me. Sorry, Selena, it's been non-stop. I couldn't get in touch sooner. I stared at him. In just 3 days. He looked noticeably thinner. His chin had a faint stubble. He clearly hadn't had time to shave. I couldn't stop myself from reaching out and brushing my fingers along his jaw. Zack, you didn't even shave. You look awful. He caught my hand and rubbed his chin against my palm with a soft chuckle. I'll go now. But I held him back, not letting him move. I'm joking. You look good like this. Like something out of a novel, dripping in masculine energy. Should I keep it then? I scrunched my nose. Maybe not. It'll hurt when you kiss me. His smile deepened. Want to test that theory? This is your office. It's fine. I've got half a day off. No one will bother us. I was going to call you anyway, then I saw you came to the hospital. Zack held my hand, his expression slowly turning serious. Selena, I'm sorry. I didn't know, that night, that it was your first time. We were close. Just next to us. The window. Outside. Camphor trees swayed gently. The garden not far away. A faint floral scent drifted in, lingering around us. The light flickered across his defined features. I could see every individual lash, the faint shadow beneath his eyes from days of fatigue, and the small brown mole near the corner of his eye. He was the untouchable dream of my youth, and my nose tingled with sudden heat. Some things are too hard to say aloud. Maybe we all lose composure in front of the people we once idolized. But selfishly, I still didn't want to push him away. The truth was always clear to me. I was selfish and vain, just like I hated the way my family tried to leech off me and anyone near me. Just like right now, I wanted the entire world to know that Zack belonged to me. But I couldn't say it. Zack was the kind of man who stood in sunlight, unsullied by filth, and I didn't want him dragged into the dirt of my life. So I smiled and teased. What? Trying to take responsibility for me now? Zack didn't smile back. He answered quietly. Yes, I am. Don't be so serious, Dr. Chan. You'll scare me. I slowly pulled my hand from his. We're adults. We're responsible for ourselves. No need for all that. Dr. Chan. Selena? Dr. Chan. I'm in pain. Can we just do the treatment first? Zack paused for a moment, silent, then shifted instantly into his professional mode. He examined me again carefully, adjusted the meds. Go get some therapy done. Heat compress and massage will help. I nodded, got up. Zack handed me a clean lab coat. I'll take you there. During the therapy, I closed my eyes in embarrassment. Can a nurse do it instead? Zack put on gloves. You questioning my professionalism now? I bit my tongue and shut up. Still, the moment his hands touched down, I blushed. But undeniably, his technique was flawless. I soon felt myself drifting off, relaxed and comfortable. Toward the end, I thought I heard Zack call my name, but I was too drowsy to respond. Maybe he said something, or maybe he didn't. He quietly stepped out. I took a deep, dreamless nap. When I woke up, I didn't go looking for Zack. I just asked a nurse to pass on a message, and left quietly, wearing a mask. Head down, I stepped into the elevator and walked toward the hospital exit, but as I reached the ground floor, a hand grabbed my arm. Then, a slap landed on my face, hard enough to leave me stunned. Chapter 21. By the time I came to, I was staring at the cold, furious faces of my two brothers. Selena, come with us. We're going to see Mr. Song. I'm not going. It's not your choice. He said if you apologize, he'll still consider getting engaged to you. You know very well that the Song family is our best shot at reviving the Zhao business. I yanked my arm away with all my strength, nearly spitting the words out between clenched teeth. I said no, I'm not going. My second brother, the hot-tempered one, raised his hand again to hit me. My eldest brother stopped him. He looked at me with forced calm, voice soft and composed. Selena, the family's really in trouble. If this deal falls through, Zhao Group is finished. You're part of this family too. We've always treated you well. Can't you help us out? Just this once? And have you considered how people will look at me afterward? How I'll be insulted, degraded? You're young, beautiful, well-educated. Mr. Song truly likes you. He won't mistreat you. Selena, don't be naive. So many women would kill for a chance to marry into the Song family. I already said I'm not getting back together with Simon. I stepped back, sneering coldly at both of them. If you're so obsessed with this great match, then sell off your own daughters. Selena, if you're going to throw away your family bonds like this, then return everything our parents gave you. Cut ties with the Zhao family completely. Fine, I'll return it. Maybe they finally realized I wouldn't budge. My eldest brother frowned. You're still young, immature. You'll understand the value of your maiden home once you're married. Don't come crawling back when it's too late. I couldn't help but laugh. During my teenage years, I was miserable, conflicted, confused. I even attempted suicide. I never understood why our parents doted on my brothers, but treated me so indifferently. For a long time, I blamed myself, until I accidentally found out I wasn't their biological daughter, just an abandoned child they had adopted. Adopted not out of kindness, but for leverage. A pawn for future marriage deals. How much true love could one give to a pawn? After that, I started to understand, and saved myself, one step at a time. Chapter 22. I returned the apartment and the car to the Zhao family. Even the 200,000 yuan I'd saved through part-time jobs since graduation. I gave it all to my parents. They raised me. I would repay that debt. But my marriage? That belonged to me alone. When I left, no one in the family looked pleased. They didn't even hand me the disownment paper. They threw it at my face. I found a new place to rent and tried my best to pull myself together. During that time, Zack contacted me many times. I only responded briefly when he asked about my health. He tried to arrange a meetup too, but I couldn't bring myself to say yes. I was scared that the moment I saw him, I'd lose all control. I'd want to kiss him, hug him, sleep with him. I'd want to make him mine, wholly and completely. But I was also painfully sober. What if it was all just a dream? Zack never pushed me, never guilted me. Sometimes I'd scroll through his Instagram moments. He rarely posted, just photos of morning runs or night jogs. I'd zoom in, staring at every part of him. Like a creep. Work started going downhill too. I could guess who was behind it. Simon. But I couldn't quit. I needed the job. Even when my salary got slashed again and again, the pressure became unbearable. One night, after another long shift, I saw Zack waiting outside my building. Beijing was already deep into autumn. He stood in a dark gray trench coat, tall and straight, as beautiful as a god. A cigarette hung between his fingers. It was the first time I'd seen him smoke. When he saw me, he immediately stubbed it out. I froze on the spot. The sandwich in my hand dropped to the ground. Zack strode over. No hesitation. No chance to run. He pulled me into his arms, kissed me. Hard. That kiss was deep, commanding. The bitter scent of nicotine seeped into my lungs. But it only made me crave more. Before I realized it, I was on tiptoe, arms wrapped around his neck, kissing him back desperately. We kissed all the way upstairs. As I fumbled to unlock the door, he hugged me from behind, lips grazing my earlobe. That kiss made me melt, my hands shook. The key almost fell. The door opened. He carried me inside and pinned me against the shoe cabinet. I grabbed at his coat, his shirt. My hands roamed down to the firm ridges of muscle at his waist. A jolt shot through me, from fingertips to spine. I whimpered involuntarily, and he seized the moment, tongue sliding into mine, wild and tangled, at the edge of losing it. Dr. Chan somehow found restraint. "I'll shower first." He pulled away, eyes dark with lust, and I loved him like this, fallen from his pedestal, drenched in desire. As he turned away, I wrapped my arms around his waist from behind. "I want to shower with you." Chapter 23. My rented apartment was tiny, and the bathroom even smaller. The water pressure from the shower was weak. I shivered a little from the cold, so Zack held me tighter. His body was so warm. His hands were burning. When his fingers slid through my soaking wet hair, massaging my scalp gently, my entire body trembled. He leaned down and kissed me, his fingers brushing away the damp strands at my temple, softly rubbing my chilled earlobe. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to hold back anymore. "Dr. Chan," I whispered, "shouldn't you give me another checkup?" I guided his hand slowly to my chest. Desire overwhelmed him, and he didn't wait until we got to the bedroom. Right there, under the misty spray of warm water, in a space too cramped to stretch out properly, Zack and I intertwined over and over again. By the end, I was completely spent, fell asleep curled in his arms, sweet and deep. When I woke up again, he was still there, still in my apartment. I blinked, surprised, rubbed my eyes several times just to make sure it wasn't a dream. He had rolled up his sleeves, bringing food out from my tiny kitchen. "You're awake? Hungry? You didn't leave?" Zack placed the plates down, standing by the small table, looking at me with soft eyes. "I was afraid that if I left, you'd stop talking to me again." He had his glasses on, hair slightly tousled and hanging down gently. He looked like a piece of jade, smooth, quiet, and warm. I loved the way he looked with glasses, but I loved even more removing them myself. "Zack." I walked to him, lifted my head and looked into his eyes. "Right now, I have nothing. I might even lose my job soon. And I'm not really the Zhao family's daughter, just a girl they adopted and raised. I'm selfish, a little vain. I don't think someone like you could really like someone like me." Zack seemed to sense my vulnerability, my deep-rooted insecurity and confusion. He reached out and pulled me into a tight embrace. "Selena, nothing in this world, nothing but you, has ever mattered to me. Why?" I stared at him, my voice barely a whisper. "Why me? Why would someone like him love someone like me?" I was so contradictory, proud and insecure, defensive and fragile. "There's no why, I just do." Zack lowered his head and gently kissed me. Chapter 24. There's no reason. He just loved her. Maybe it started long ago, back when they were still in school. Maybe it was the moment they met again, when she became Simon's girlfriend. Even he couldn't say for sure, but he knew once she was with Simon. He forced himself into a world he detested again and again, just for a chance to see her. That's why he swallowed down jealousy and bitterness, showing up every time Simon called, just to stay close. Zack thought no one else in this world would ever know. That day in the car, when her knee touched his and didn't move away, how he had silently loathed his own pathetic joy. But he couldn't stop it. In the end, he became exactly the kind of man he despised. And he didn't regret it. Not once. The only thing he did regret was that he hadn't taken the first step sooner, that he should have been the one to claim her first, even if it meant being the unworthy, unwanted other man. Chapter 25. In the end, I still lost the job. On the day I left the company, I ran into Simon downstairs. The moment he saw me carrying my box of things, he got out of his car. This time, Freya wasn't in the passenger seat. I kept my eyes straight ahead, not even glancing at him, but Simon stepped right into my path. "Selena, stop being so stubborn. I've told you, someone as pretty as you doesn't need to struggle like this. Let's get back together. I promise. I won't see Freya again. I smiled and looked at Simon. People are always like this, they only crave what they've lost. Now he says he won't see Freya anymore, but only because they've already crossed the line, done everything there was to do. And he's lost interest. Now he remembers me. What? Simon noticed my smile and thought I was softening. He reached for my hand. I stepped back. Simon, I already have a boyfriend. His face twisted in disbelief. No way. When did you get a boyfriend? I smiled wider. Do you remember that day at the hot spring resort? The men's shirt I was wearing? Simon's pupils contracted, his face slowly turning pale. That shirt was his. We spent the entire night together, drank, talked, and slept together. Selena, don't be mad. I tilted my head, teasing. Didn't you do the same with Freya? Only we hadn't even broken up then. That's different. I was just playing around with her. If I liked her, you think I'd still care about you? Simon was nearly growling, rage surging in every word. Exactly, it is different. Because I'm serious. I actually love him. You better tell me who that bastard is. He spat, trembling with fury. No one had ever dared steal from Simon's song before. I'll skin him alive. He was completely unhinged. Then, who are you planning to skin? Zack's voice rang out behind him, calm and deadly. Simon froze, like someone had pulled the plug on a toy. It took him a moment to stiffly turn around. When he saw who it was, Zack Chan, in a black coat, tall and ice-cold. Simon looked like all the blood drained from his body. He stood there speechless. Zack stepped forward, bypassed him, and picked up my box. This is the only time I'll say this. Don't ever bother Selena again. Simon bit back his fury, but couldn't stop it from leaking through. Zack, Selena's my girlfriend. You knew that. She's not anymore. I only broke up with her because I was upset. All right? I didn't mean it. Doesn't matter. Zack freed one hand to wrap around my shoulders. His eyes, cold as steel, met Simon's. If Selena says it's over, then it's over. Zack, if you're unhappy about it, stop calling me cousin. Zack's lips curled faintly. It's not like the Chans and Songs are real family anyway. Simon fell silent instantly. It had taken everything to build that connection to the Chan family. If he ruined it now, his own father would skin him alive. I followed Zack into his car. As we drove away, I turned back. Simon still stood there, shoulders slumped, completely defeated. Then I looked at Zack. Even just driving, he looked so handsome. I couldn't help snapping a photo of his side profile. Dr. Chan. I want to post this to my moments. I just wanted to show off. That Zack, this man, was mine. Okay. Then I'm posting it. I opened Instagram, selected the photo, and typed, the most handsome man in the world, now mine. The moment I hit post, my phone blew up. My comment section was flooded with, ah! OMG, who is he? Sister, you win. I felt like I was overflowing with joy. At a red light, Zack reached for my hand. Happy now? Very happy. He leaned over and kissed my cheek. Selena, I'm happy too. The light turned green. The car rolled forward. The road ahead was long. The season already laced with frost. And for me and Zack, our happiness was just beginning.